Hello and welcome to the session about teaching reading. In this session, we'll talk about reading as a receptive skill and we'll compare it to listening. We'll talk about types of reading, about top-down and bottom-up reading, about stages in teaching reading, a reading lesson, and we'll make conclusions for Interclass. If you have listened to the previous video attentively, you will see that the structure of the presentation is almost the same. Why? Because these are the two receptive skills. And to form the skills, we need, first of all, to check the understanding, which is very important, because our students receive it, so we need to check understanding, and also we need to help them produce the language in a productive follow-up, but at first, understanding. So if we compare reading to listening, we'll see that they are based on the ability to recognize a word, a phrase, and to understand it. So, though they have many differences, for us, it's important that they both are receptive skills. And if we compare the types of listening to the types of reading, we'll see that they have very much in common. In listening, we monitor for important information. In reading, we scan. In listening, we listen for gist to understand the whole idea of the text. In reading, we skim. And also in both types of these receptive skills, we can do intensive reading and intensive listening when we need to understand as much as possible. So, as reading is a receptive skill, it is important to decode the words, then to practice fluency, and of course, we need to practice accuracy. So, accuracy in reading, I mean, in pronunciation. So, when we teach reading, we start with decoding. The vocabulary is recognized, the words and the letters are combined with the sound of the words. Also here, we practice pronunciation, and at a certain stage, here is an example of the third level. So at the certain stage, we start checking our students' comprehension. So comprehension is checked with the help as the same as in listening. We can check comprehension with the help of pictures and translation at the very beginning, but then there is no need to do it because you can check comprehension with transformations. And the more you use transformations, the more you develop your students' language skills. And at the high level, like this is the fourth level, so we already try to check comprehension with true or false sentences that bring us through the transformation. All this is close to CCQs and is close to language development. So we have developed our students with reading words, reading sentences, checking their comprehension first by translation, by pictures, by transformation or CCQs, and at a certain stage we can go to a reading lesson. A reading lesson, even if it's a part of a lesson, should be based on these types of reading: scanning, skimming, and intensive reading. Yeah? So when we scan, we usually look for important information and concept words. When we skim, we go deeper, but keywords are also important, and we read the text to understand the general idea. When we read for detail, we already read the text slowly, we look for keywords, and it is very important if you read for a test to read the questions before reading the text, and only then you'll be able to answer them correctly. So, when we teach reading, we also may use either bottom-up or top-down approach. And now you will probably easily tell me that at the initial stages of learning, at the earlier stages of learning, the bottom-up approach is more preferable, while when you have more advanced students, you will go top-down, activate their schemata, so you will go through keywords, signposts, and that is how a reading lesson may be structured. So here, the conclusion for Interclass at this stage. We start with words, then sentences, then we do functions and transformations, and at the levels higher than the 8th level, we already can have reading lessons with CCQs, with scanning, skimming, and deep reading. The structure for any reading lesson will be as follows, and if you can compare it to the listening lesson, you'll see that it resembles it a lot. We'll do lead in to activate the schemata of our students. We'll pre-teach the vocabulary, so then we'll read for gist first, then we'll read for specific information and for detail. And it is very important to remember that every reading, same as listening, should be followed by a productive follow-up. Why? Because, again, reading is a receptive skill. You check the understanding, but language is production. So you put in, so then everything is processed, and after this input, you need the outcome, you need the production of your students. So try to follow every lesson with a productive follow-up, and at this stage, students respond to the text, personalize it, and practice speaking for fluency. You can do content or language feedback. So we are already here, and we see that reading is still a receptive skill. When we do reading, we don't remember a lot. When we do reading and hearing, when our students read, discuss, we already remember much more, but only if we actively participate in a discussion and discuss the text. When we make it a part of our speech production, we remember much more, and we go from passive to active learning. So thank you for your attention, and see you next class. Goodbye.